by qualia, because you said it was sense experience, then are you saying that it's limited to sight, touch, taste, feel, smell, and hearing?
No, I tried to qualify that it's any sense, like even your mind sensing itself. So your inner mental life as well as all your senses pouring in. So there's actually, I mean, if you read about it, there's actually debate about whether or not which particular sense experiences are supposed to be quality and which aren't. But for all practical purposes, it seems to me that why not label all of them as, any mental experience as an experience, a mental experience. So
then, if I hear you right, you're saying that qualia would be not only sense data, but the data of consciousness too. Okay. How do you define a dualist? What does that mean?
A dualist is anybody that, especially in the modern world, pretty much everybody knows that we have a mechanical brain that does something that has to do with conscious, or something to do with your mind. But at some level, whether they think that there's a ghost in the machine, or whether or not they think sense experience itself has some kind of immaterial quality to it, or there's a wide range of dualists out there, and dualism is a broad category that encompasses anybody that adds something not material to your mental equation.
So then, am I hearing that you're saying that in this dualism that there's an opposition between the natural functions of something and this other whatever? There's opposition?
Not necessarily. Maybe some people think about it like that, but just the augmentation, I would think, would be the better term. That they think that the material brain is not enough. Basically, there must be something else to it. That they can't. They look at physics, they look at the standard model, and they say, "Well, my brain's not made of that. It seems different." So that's.
When you say not enough, do you mean that something has to act on it, or that it has to become more?
As explanation, obviously people take the basic explanation of mental life and they try to go somewhere with that in a spiritual or religious context, but just from the standpoint of understanding the basic ontology or the reality of your mental life, dualism is one position about that, or one category of position about that must include something that's not physical.
Could I insert a question, kind of a point of order? It's not, and maybe I just...
We do have a Q&A after this.
This might inform what goes forward from here. Just very quickly.
Okay.
It's not clear to me whether you're arguing that qualia might be explainable by just all natural stuff, or definitely can be.
It just depends on... I think I have arguments that... I think we can wait for this at the end, but definitely. I'm pretty certain that qualia is mechanical.
So that's the argument you're making, is that...
Yeah, that naturalism is the best explanation for qualia.
Okay.
Whether that's 100% or 99%, I'm not going to parse that percentage point.
I think that helps clarify. Then, really, there's a boundary on it, so it's not open. In contrast to what I said, where I see that data, both of sense and consciousness, there has to be an openness, because there might be something impinging upon you through the consciousness that is not measurable. So yours would be a more that it's got boundaries. It has to be just purely natural, and nothing outside itself can be considered So either if it's mental or if it's physical, but it has to be measurable in some way.
Measurable in principle maybe, but I mean I don't have a problem with people having transcendent experiences, or I think that's all. I mean a finite mind being overwhelmed is indistinguishable from one that maybe is actually experiencing something infinite or something. So I don't see a problem with a finite brain having an overwhelming sense experience that they at least interpret as undefinable. I mean, the only undefined, I mean, there may be, I don't have a problem with action. I mean, that's another philosophical debate on whether there can be actual infinites or just potential infinites. I happen to fall on I think actual infinites are just fine. I don't happen to think anything going on in their head is actually infinite. Infinity, and whether or not you can have an actual infinite number of things, or some people think that you can't because they find some kind of logical problem with that. But that's another debate.
So then, I think what's coming down to very much is that the mind is either capable of, things that it can explain, or some things that it can't explain, but still experiences.
Well, right. I think there's plenty of things that we experience that we don't have an explanation for, in the sense that we don't fully understand basically anything really about life or, biology. I mean, pretty much like literally everything that you can think of, our ability to understand or comprehend it is just limited. I mean, if I ask you to imagine a million $1 bills and their serial numbers, you just can't do it. I mean, it's a mental impossibility. Unless I'm wrong, if there's somebody out there. but I mean, practically speaking, that we don't. I mean, we may think that we have some kind of infinite experience or something overwhelming, but I don't know what the difference between that and just being really overwhelmed as a finite person is. So,
would you have a criteria for the authenticity of such experiences? Let me give you an example. If a woman states tomorrow that she is seeing the Blessed Virgin Mary in apparitions, would there be a criteria to either declare the fact that she had too much lasagna the night before, or that she is hallucinating, or that she has had an experience? Is there some way of proofing? Is there some way of genuine discernment about stuff like that, or is it all flaky?
I think it is possible I can think of ways. I mean, if the Virgin Mary gave you a lot of information, you're talking about the near-death experience of the one lady. I mean, I think that we can, I don't care to speculate on a particular example I don't know specifically about, but from general knowledge, a lot of the times when they're not actually brain dead, they can actually hear. So it's not, that's what I would assume that would probably be a matter of. But I've actually looked into the arguments for religious experiences like that, and some of the tricky things about it is, one of the problems is our brains are virtual reality machines. We have dreams, we have all sorts of anomalous experiences. From my understanding of the psychology of hallucination, you can actually have full 5-sense hallucinations, including entire conversations. So, it is kind of in any given population of human or of sentient beings with our kind of hardware, we're going to have a runoff of anomalous experiences. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be wrong. It just means that when a Catholic will come up and say, I've had a vision of the Virgin Mary. Someone else will say, well, I've been abducted by aliens. Someone else will say, there's all sorts of things. And it's not just religion. There's a wide, obviously aliens aren't necessarily religion, but there's a wide spectrum. If someone sees Mickey Mouse, and that's mentally possible. And so I think religion provides a format for contextualizing a lot of kind of visions and perpetuating a lot of kinds of visions. That's why you get a lot of Virgin Mary sightings in Catholic countries and not a lot of Virgin Mary sightings in non-Catholic countries. So, the really weird stuff that's just, silly, like, you might put on your Facebook, oh, I had a hallucination of, Batman or something, and then, and everybody blows that off because, well, obviously that's fake. But, if somebody has an anomalous experience of the Virgin Mary and all of a sudden, they have a whole culture set up to enforce that, oh, at least that might be real, or, what did she say? And, that could be a completely life-changing event for someone. And, from their perspective, I think they really had that experience probably. But, we just have to be really careful because, if we, it's a practical problem for everybody. Because, I remember, even as a Christian, I knew that it could be all in my head or not. So when I had, what seemed to be like demonic experiences, as a Christian, I knew I didn't really know. Like, maybe it was just a really bad dream, a sleep paralysis hallucination, or maybe it was real. But how do I know? So it's kind of a practical, epistemic problem for anybody, really. It doesn't, whether you're a skeptic or a knowledgeable Christian, I think everybody has to deal with that. So.
That was time.
So.
2-minute closing?